Good morning and welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks for special coverage on Cyber Monday. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining us at the market site in Times Square, we have Greg Portell. He's the head of Global Consumer Industries and Retail Practice over at AT Kearney. We're going to take a look at the recent survey of Gen Z and how their emotional wellness plays into retail buying decisions. Greg, it's great to have you here with us. And before we get into the survey itself, what defines Gen Z?
Gen Z essentially is the era or the group of consumers that were born post-Google.
Right.
So 2006 onward, it's up to, they're just now emerging as a consumer group.
Right.
And it's interesting because a lot of their experiences are really rooted in the past 20 years of American culture.
Right, so they have been through some ups and downs between 9/11 and of course the Great Recession and so forth. And part of that study shows that mental and physical health is more important to them and their purchasing decisions than generations past.
Right, they've grown up in an era of security and security awareness that is unprecedented at this stage because they did live through 9/11, or at least they saw the aftermath of 9/11. And then they also really have been impacted by gun violence, by the economic crisis in 2008, 2018. You know, the ability to really trust institutions has really faltered with that group. So if you think about the security and the comfort level, it's really missing in the Gen Z consumer.
What companies stand to benefit from their purchasing decisions?
The biggest success stories are those that are authentic. So it could be take a stand one way or the other, but be authentic. If you're going to be Starbucks and you're going to be talking about the third place, then be a community place. Be some place that people feel comfortable. If you're going to promise consumers efficiency, then actually be efficient. Don't clutter the experience with things that don't add value to the consumer. So it really comes back to that authenticity factor through every element of the consumer journey.
Let's go back to value because the value-based consumption survey findings are pretty interesting as well. What about companies that have had a crisis? How forgiving are consumers these days?
Again, it's all rooted in that authenticity. So if a company, and we all make mistakes,
right.
Companies, if you're as big as these companies are with as many hourly employees on the front line as they have, you're going to make missteps. Nobody's going to be perfect. The real question for consumers is how authentic is that reply? It's not enough just to issue a press release. Are you actually making fundamental changes? And that's why when you see something, using the Starbucks example again, where they took the initiative to shut down their stores for diversity training, that's visible change that really resonates with today's consumers, whether they're Gen Z or otherwise.
Right, and it's really interesting because when you see on social media, for example, Twitter's notorious for this, boycott XYZ will be trending for the day. The stat in here is only 23% of consumers actively seek out products, and even fewer routinely conduct values-based research. So it seems as if, one day it might be a trending hot topic, but they're really not adhering to that.
Well, because it takes work. We are living in an increasingly frictionless economy. So consumers are willing to boycott, they're willing to get involved as long as the inconvenience to them is relatively minor. So if companies are able to take those bold steps, take the corrective action, the penalty is going to be relatively small from a consumer perspective.
Right, and we were talking about this off air before, even with Cyber Monday. I don't think I'll shop in a store at all if I can avoid it. And you said it's almost become a chore to shop.
Well, yeah, I mean, the shift to online shopping has been driven by the concept of chore shopping. I don't want to go to the store when it's a chore. And really, that's what holiday shopping has become for many consumers. I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do this. The joy and the magic of the holiday has really been sucked out of the consumer experience as it relates to this time of year.
Yeah, it certainly is. Having hosted Thanksgiving and Christmas in the next few weeks, I can attest to that. But it's interesting because even the big box stores like Walmart and Target, I think it's pretty genius that they're doing direct shipping to the store because you're forced to come into the store. And when you come into the store, you see something in an aisle, I have to pick up that or at the register. So looks like they're getting you on both ends.
Well, the key concept there is integrated commerce. 5 years ago, 10 years ago, companies were all about which channel are you purchasing through, are you digital, are you in store. That's a very antiquated way to look at commerce because consumers don't shop by channel. They shop by product, they shop by need. So the most successful companies are those that create that integrated experience so that it doesn't matter where you click, where you collect, whether you're buying on a computer or a phone, the experience meets your needs. And for some people that's in-store, drive-by, pick-up, and in others that's delivered.
All right, now to wrap up here, I mean, expectations for consumer spend are really high. They're expecting
they'll
over
be
$1 trillion just for the, what is it, 6 weeks or whatever it is, that's the key amount for retail.
It's hard to define that
Yeah,
now.
because, and that's,
It stretches.
not to sound like I'm not doing my research, but it changes every year. And of course, you have 6 less shopping days because of the calendar, but they seem to start earlier and earlier. Are your expectations that consumers will, in fact, meet those expectations?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there will be winners and losers, so it's not that everyone will win. But if you define the holiday season as the quarter, which is really the way retailers are looking at it now, it'll be by far the most successful overall consumer spending time period ever.
All right, we'll see if the stocks reflect that. Thanks so much, Greg, for joining us at
Thank you.
MarketSite. And thank you for joining me on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.